Good morning from Texas and Europe. Good afternoon from Europe. I guess Alex Murauski and Denis Zhilko from Alconost are joining me for this LocDiscussion. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself real quick, Alex and Dennis, so I don't say anything I shouldn't be saying, and all the main points are picked off. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you, Stefan, for inviting us. That's a big pleasure to participate in this talk. So my name is Alexander, and I'm running Alconost. This is a localization services provider. I've been running it for almost 20 years, and I just wanted to share my latest experience with LLMs and what's happening in this field. So that's who I am. Who I am. Yeah, thank you,
Dennis?
Dennis.
Thanks, Stefan. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast. I'm Denis, a product manager working on AI translations and machine translation post-editing. For the past couple of years, I've been focusing on how AI can improve our translation workflows and ensuring our solutions meet our clients' needs.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about this morning or this afternoon with Alex and Dennis, choosing the right AI for localization. And it's more complex than most people think. It's more complex than plugging in Chat GPT, I would think. A lot of people are unfamiliar with our industry and have come believe that LLMs can handle all translations without any human input. What are, in your opinion, the biggest misconceptions about the capabilities of LLMs in localization?
I think I can start.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, Dennis. Thank you.
Don't
I'm
fight
just
over
out.
don't fight over the questions. Don't fight over the questions, guys. Go ahead.
Uh,
So
okay, let's start with Dennis. Thank you.
let's start with the primary misconception is consider LLMs as a complete alternative to human localization. In reality, LLMs often struggle with maintaining lexical and grammatical consistency. So, post editing or quality assurance, at least, uh, are the places where humans will remain irreplaceable. And diving a bit deeper, LLMs also struggling with figurative language. Of course, they handle it a bit better than traditional NMTs, but they still struggle to fully grasp its layers and often miss emotional nuances. Maybe, Alex, you can add something.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the big technical person. From the technical point of view, there is a misconception that it's easy to implement that. So one marketing person would dream of just sending some text to OpenAI and receive all the marketing documentation just translated. But technically, you need to organize the process as the pipeline, so the proper pipeline. So actually, you will need some platform and some level of localization maturity to build the process. So you need to upload somewhere your materials, categorize. Somebody must build a glossary. Maybe you have had previously some translation memory, and you want to. The proper way is to employ LLMs to translate your context, but providing them with lots of context. So it's glossaries, it's translation memories, it's style guides, different kinds of things, and also it's technically misconception. One misconception is that every LLM, one LLM would translate to every language. So take for example OpenAI. If we just translate something into 20 languages, then it will not work as we expect. Uh, for Asian languages, it's better DeepSeek. For European languages, French, it's Mistral. So for technical, and it's the domain does mean a lot. So if it's technical documentation about firewalls, for example, then Claude is your choice. But you never know. You never know. So somebody or you, if you're organizing the process yourself, somebody would must build this for you to help you. And this is a misconception that's easy. We just send some JSONs to OpenAI and receive them back. No, you need a glossary and you need some prompting. Maybe in some cases you need some fine tuning. So technically, without the platform, without some kind of understanding, a little bit of machine learning engineering and prompt engineering, it's tricky. From the client perspective of view. From the perspective of a language service provider, of course, we need this experience to do everything. So technically, it's not sometimes easy. Yeah, that's the misconception that it's easy.
Yeah.
I
So
also want to.
Oh, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead, Dennis. Go ahead.
I also
Yeah.
would like to add a misconception about cost effectiveness LLM translations. Many
Yeah.
may think that using LLM for translation is almost free. Well, while LLMs are more affordable than human translation, this doesn't tell you the whole story. For example, if you're new to localization, you might end up spend days refining translations. During this process, you'll also be paying for LLM usage, and without right experience and depending on model, especially if we're considering models with reasoning capabilities, you might end up nearly equal to human translation.
Yeah, and we had this experience, unfortunate experience, when we just misconfigured the tool we are using to perform translations with LLMs, and we send lots of data to the context window, the whole translation memory and the whole glossary. That's a large data to translate just a few segments. And so doing this automatic way, just and we just received the bill from OpenAI's. We have a limitation there, but we just spent some money. Or it was with Google Translate. I don't actually remember, or maybe AutoML. But that's the thing. You automate something. You rely on your legal experience in software engineering, and you end up just spending money. It requires.
Yeah, and another thing that I was
cautious.
thinking of is that the results in different language pairs are probably vary a little bit. There's been quite a bit of research done lately by people like Custom MT on different
Yeah.
language pairs. And what do you think some of the overlooked factors that impact the effectiveness of LLMs in language pairs of different languages?
One of my favorite questions. I'm deeply into those researches. So we conduct some our own experiments with benchmarking the LLMs against different language pairs and against different domains. And our finding, and this is the experience I would share, that there are some general benchmarks in general domains like poetry, literature, politics. I don't know, but that's too generic. You may benchmark your OpenAI, some of the models you chose against this domain. But when it comes to the real client with the real materials, then you must test against the real materials of the client, because maybe it's a game about poetry and the poetry domain is okay, but the game about poetry would not fit. So what we do is we're not just testing generic benchmarks, doing general benchmarks, but what we do is we have a workflow of testing all the engines for all the language pairs for the exact the contents, the contents of the content of the real the client. So and to help them select the best engine. So this is my advice is to not just rely on some research, which might be generic, too generic.
Yeah, and you do.
Also,
And
a
you
couple of
go ahead.
words. Oh, sorry.
No, no, go
Also, a
ahead.
couple of words from me. I would say the script-specific processing difference is one of the most overlooked factors. For example, languages using non-Latin scripts like Cyrillic, Arabic, and Indian is Devanagari often suffer from tokenization inefficiencies. These scripts require significantly more tokens in their languages than Latin, which creates kind of computational penalties. Also, I would add here
And it would,
morphological
I mean, and
complexity.
it would cost more too if there's more tokens involved as
Of
well. If
course,
I'm good, yeah, yeah,
yeah. And also, I would mention here morphological complexity. Models perform worse with agglutinative languages like Finnish, like Hungarian, and Turkish, I guess. These are the languages where a single word uh, can express what require an entire phrase, like in English.
yeah. It's very, very interesting. How do you see the balance of, there's a lot of talk in the industry about human in the loop. That seems to be kind of the direction everybody is veering. Machine and AI found a translation first and then human in the loop. How do you see that evolving over the next 5 years?
In 5 years, I think it will become just a standard. So if many years ago, if it was the standard when we have tab translation, editing, and proofreading, this then for cost efficiency it became just translation plus proofreading, and then it just came to translation plus the same translator reviewing and some automated tests, of course, using platforms that helped a lot. And now it comes to MTP, machine translation post editing. So there is, and in 5 years, it will be machine translation, machine post editing. And in the end, when the machine says that there are some, or a set of agents, localization quality assurance agents, I would say, they will point to some issue in a translation, then would the human be involved. This will be in 5 years, but for now, for a little while, there would be every like 80% of the projects would be machine translation using some of LLMs, tuned or not tuned, I don't know. And the human review. And the human review is very important because in our experience, while we are also dreaming about when the machines just go and do our work, when we just get into the projects like in reality, when we have, for example, a game and you translated it and you just see what the LLM did, there is a delta. So we would say that it's for 5 years we have a job, we have our works safe because still LLMs making mistranslations, making mistakes, making out of context, making weird things, and also they must be observed. Like they can be compared to a Toyota factory when everything is automated, but there are humans. Nobody just leaves their places and go outside and it's unattended. Some attendants must be there, and this cannot be just a project manager, localization project manager, because this requires the knowledge of language. So in one project there would be linguists, maybe less than when they were translating, but they will be absolutely 100% involved and reviewing, bearing the responsibility for the quality. One of the best lessons in my life I got 20 years ago when I first took money for translations. I was translating software at the time. I took the money and I outsourced the work to my girlfriend to translate into German, and she just did some translation work. And in 2 weeks, the customer would say, "Well, the quality is poor." So my users said that the quality is poor. So what happens? And at that time I understood that with money comes the responsibility. If you provide a service, you are bearing responsibility. And the same this
That kind of
philosophy here
problem, that kind of problem will get you into relationship counseling quickly, I would think, if she was your girlfriend.
yes. With time it happened. So but we never we found just more professional translators, and that worked. But it's this responsibility is very much overlooked thing in automated translation. Like it can be compared to Tesla autopilot. You just can go on autopilot, but it doesn't widespread. Somebody there are many people who do not just entrust their lives to robots. Nobody cares responsibility. The responsibility is important. We go to doctors, we go to lawyers. We don't go to just ChatGPT to prescribe some prescriptions. Somebody does this, but not we. So the same goes with translation. If you're a brand, if you're a respected brand, if you're Sony, if you're I don't know anything, is your Microsoft, and you want your marketing and your products and your Apple, your products translated in quality, somebody should bear responsibility. And that's not your software developer who wrote the script to just feed the strings into the LLM and get back and make a build, and that's it. LLMs make mistakes, they mistranslate, and sometimes they are even with this greedy generation when you just, their temperature is like zero. You don't allow to hallucinate, but it hallucinates anyway because the precision of calculations, because lots of different factors, and because of the system prompts they have. Every LLM, if you would like to translate a game about, I don't know, explosive, I never translated that, but you see how it just refuses to translate. It just will return you JSON. You ask to translate and return the JSON, and you don't receive the JSON. You receive the answer. I would not translate this, and there are lots of tricks around this. So it must be supervised. It must be proofread.
Yeah.
Imagine you have an airport, and we all saw those memes when the translation error 500 running through the teaser in airports because of the MT failure. If you deliver high quality products to the market, the translation also must be good quality. Somebody would bear responsibility.
Yeah. Can you share a case where expectations for large language models and localization were drastically different from reality?
Or I have a couple of cases in mind. Let's start with the most frequent one, when our clients come to us with their own machine translation. They believe that quality is 90% there and require only like a couple of touches. But upon our evaluation, we typically find significant quality issues that go beyond surface level grammar. And in one recent case for a healthcare app, what the client estimated for 2 or 3 hours of review actually required complete retranslation due to terminology issues. And another case when one of our clients requested automated post-editing due to the technical nature of their content. The LLM actually made more errors than it fixed. We quickly realized that and agreed with this client to go with classic MTP workflow. I think that's all on my end. Alex.
That recent case is very interesting in such a regard. So imagine that the translation is good, and you ask someone, well, please fix it, but don't tell that it's good. Don't tell them that it's good, and they will try because they are asked. Because you asked, they will try to do something about it, and the translation was good. In some cases, but the LM would come and try to help because the system prompt is you're a helpful assistant. This is OpenAI system prompt, and you ask to review the translation and to improve it, and it's helpful. It wants to do something, lazy Claude will say, okay, that's everything is correct because it's not so helpful a system. But
It's
OpenAI
funny. It almost sounds
tries better.
it almost sounds like red line. Have you ever heard of red line syndrome? Have you heard of that? That's
Mm,
actually it's the syndrome that happens when reviewers are reviewing a translation. A lot of times they feel compelled to find things that are wrong with the
yes,
translation. And the way you're
yes,
describing it right now, the large language models are suffering from the same complex, so to speak, when we are prompting them to review a text that's been translated. It wants to be helpful, and it's going to
yes.
find issues.
Yes, because that happens because the large language model it doesn't evaluate the text. The primary task of it is to do something and to get something out to get uh, to infer to generate something. It's a generative model. So the primary task is to generate. If it's nothing to generate, it's penalized. Large language models of modern like ChatGPT, there is an observation that human would prefer longer answers from GPTs, and for longer answers they get more like points, and they are on the post training on the alignment phase. They just taught to do reasoning, to do explanations like for 5 year kids, and for that they they uh, they are just rewarded. The reward models would reward for the long answers, and what we get when we prompt to uh, assess the quality and return some fixes, they try to do this because they very helpful, but sometimes it's not necessary. Just don't touch it. It's good enough.
That's an
This is true.
algorithmic reality that I hadn't even pondered or realized. That's very interesting. I want to dive deeper with you guys into the language pair complexity of using AI. Not all models perform equally across all languages. And what kind of advice can you give people? What factors should businesses consider when selecting an AI solution for a specific language pair?
Uh, from the point of business, there is also two different worlds of businesses. Some of them are they don't care about the privacy, so they can fit their translations into OpenAI, and that's it. And if somebody steals their UI strings, so game in game test, that's okay. But when you're a bank or some investment fund and you want to translate something inside you or healthcare authority with some private data, I don't know, you're translating patients, for example, I don't know, anything. You are limited. You have a limited choice. What you can use, you cannot use OpenAI or Claude because you expose the data. You are prohibited to do this. So you need some solutions, and the solutions are pretty much limited to open models available on the market. There are plenty of them. Llama, DeepSeek is open. If you so you can host them somewhere inside your organization, but it's expensive. Technically, it requires lots of hardware. But or you can do some cloud hosting like Google and host there your model. For example, there are services for that. But so there are two worlds. And then after you selected a model in this way, you start to talk about language pairs. And for different language pairs, there might be different language models chosen. Maybe some of them can be fine-tuned on your data, but everything, as I said earlier, must be tested towards language pairs and in the on the contents that we deal with in this client. So there will be definitely several engines. Uh,
Yeah, I would say
this is my
let's get into that a little bit. not often do we get to talk about what specific engines work for what particular language pairs. And if you have any
Yeah.
recommendations with the research that you've done, I'd love to hear those because that's specifically the kind of information that I think people are interested in. We all have
Yeah.
the practical knowledge is kind of what's missing.
What I would say, you never know, because the language pair is the only one part uh, of this answer. The another part will be is the content type,
Yeah, yeah.
because
Uh,
you need to find unique blend of your content, of your language pair, and maybe some technical stuff like the type of document you're going to feed LLM, the way you feed LLMs. So the same language pair uh, or the same content can perform completely different way in different scenarios. That's why we always ask our clients to test their content uh, and don't look at benchmarks.
General benchmarks. Yeah, we have a funny case with a game developer, which is a large game, which been on the market for 10 years already. So they have like 2,000 of terms in their glossary, just glossary, their items in the game, and they have maybe like around 15 languages. And we've built a pipeline for them for several languages. We translate their using GPT, using OpenAI. But for Polish, just for one Polish language, somehow all the metrics tell that DeepL is better. So just it's a test. You never know. You would expect that translating to Polish. Why not OpenAI translates to Polish? But DeepL, it's not even LLM, but provided with glossaries, it does the job better. I don't know why, but that's the case.
Often the lines are a little bit blurred, maybe between LLMs and machine translation engines at this point, or we tend to forget that things like DeepL are still in play as well. It's not just the LLMs that are in this race.
Yeah. So, and there is a research on that. There is a machinetranslation.org, if my memory serves me right, the
Yeah.
website for with all the machine translation engines available in the world, except LLMs. Maybe they added recently, but there are hundreds for very exotic languages, different model, different everything. Every major localization provider, they had there some machine translation engine. Now, the majority of those engines, of course, they are outdated. Of course, they will just be history. But some of them still survive. DeepL is a good example. They got an investment, $200 million. I don't remember too much money. What they're doing with that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably marketing.
Well, they're
But
surviving. That's what they're doing with that. They're adapting their
maybe.
product, I would think.
Yeah,
But
we have an API. We pay. We are users and we are paid users. Not that much, but we are paying because we need to translate into Polish our game into Polish. That's just a little example. So there are lots of machine translated agents on the market, and my opinion that in 5 years there will be much less, or they will be repackaged LLMs. It's a 15 to 20 million dollar project to train your own to train your own LLM. It's only Meta or only Google capable of doing that. And no, also Elon Musk. So they are capable because they have money. If I had money, I would train my own LM, maybe with kind of Belarusian language. I'm a native speaker of Belarusian. So maybe. But I don't have $20 million for training our own Alconost machine translation, whatever. But take, for example, I looked one benchmark project which happens every year. It's called W and T. I don't. It was inspired by Google, studied by Google for 8 languages, and then they just expanded the number of languages to 40 something, lots of, and they have benchmarked all the translation engines, all the custom and also LLMs, and they build an index. And the interesting part of that one of the participants of the one of the machine translation engines there was a custom of one of the LSP providers, and we made an investigation, and it appears so that it was a lemma, but repackaged and renamed to some other custom MT, and it just beaten some of the OpenAI on average. So it's like a number play. You just multiply average on average, and you say that our custom MTA engine is better than OpenAI, which is basically not true if you take 45 languages and not only 6 languages. So to cut the story short, in the future there will be many machine translation engines with different names, but I suspect that they will be a kind of repackaging and fine-tuning of bigger models. You don't have $20 million to train your own, but you have some amount of money to post-train it, to fine-tune, and that would work. And this is what even we are doing. To fine-tune a model, even a bigger, if it allows fine-tuning, you need just a budget of I know $500 for the hardware and for the time. It's a little, very little, limited fine-tuning, but it can be done by every LSP, and they will be doing it. They only need some machine learning specialist inside the company, and they will be doing it. And
maybe applying some form of retrieval augmented generation RAG in the process as well to keep the.
That's another topic I can speak for hours. RAG in
Hey, we're geeking out. We should be talking. You fire away. I'm in my element. It's the people hear the generalities all the time, but they're more interested in the specifics right now than the generalities because everybody's up to speed more or less.
Yeah, it's sometimes people say RAG and. When applied to translation, then what is RAG? And we've invested lots of time to build some pipelines to test it. And when it comes to translation, for RAG, it's when LLM is fed with the prompt that is with the data which was retrieved before you ask the LLM. So you need to give LLM a context, and you retrieve the data based on the prompt of user, and then feed the data in the prompt to the LLM. So this is how it basically works. And in terms of localization, if we speak about localization and RAG in localization, what you do usually, the good example of RAG would be feeding the glossary to the prompt when asking to translate. But if the glossary is big, you don't feed it the whole glossary. It doesn't make sense because why do you need the terms that are not in the source? So you would somehow extract the glossary terms that are relevant to your translation and feed it to the prompt and then send it to LLM. And this is a good example of RAG. And another one, of course, translation memory. Before you ask an LLM to translate, you might go to the vector database to select all the translation memory units that might be relevant to what you are translating now, the segment. And maybe those will be in different languages. Not the bigger context is there, then the better the translation. And so another example of RAG is going to translation memory and feed it to LLM. And it's a very rare case when a platform does this properly. So we can do this. We are doing this by ourselves, and that's a thing. But it requires software engineering and some machine learning specialists to understand how to build this.
Isn't it also true that there can be some complications with doing that? It's actually something that internally at LSPs we've been dealing with for years. You know very well when you do translation work for a company for 20 years and there's 4 different departments involved, there's going to be a moment where there's a conflict between different departments on translation memory. And we get this all the time where one department says, you know, translate plate, and we have dish in the translation memory. And I'm giving you the silly example, so to speak, but there is a lot of issues with dirty translation memory at some point. I wonder whether how that plays out, with RAG and large language models.
That is in other topic. So I gave you example of RAGs. Just one note on the technical thing, how it's implemented in the platform. So currently the only platform I know with this vector database, it's crowding. So we use it for experiments, and this is a very fresh development. So it's they are doing that right in some ways, but sometimes we feel we're quite limited by the platform in our experiments. So we do our own stuff regarding this. So this is just to finish the topic of RAG. So if you want this RAG experience with localization, you just type and see if a platform has this term like vector database. And if it has, then it's what you are searching for. You will be able to feed effectively the translation memory and glossary into your prompts, and that will lead to the translation quality better. And then just returning to your question about the translation memories, our localization engineers, they are paying much time before we translate anything. We must ensure that the translation memory is clean. So cleaning the translation memory is one of the tasks. Before you go to LLM, before you translate, you must clean the translation memory, and there are tools to do this. Also, LLMs would help. Also, you may prompt OpenAI to help you to organize to throw away some suspicious terms, very short, very suspicious things. You can automate it. And the pollution of translation memory is a problem because if a client just creates a project on the platform and just uploads the text, doesn't make any glossary, and say, okay, let's translate it with Google Translate. Okay, the project is translated. But the translations are in the translation memory, and then somebody else comes and translates it with another machine translation or LLMs, and that's a garbage in the translation memory. And then they would come and say, well, we have a translation memory, but that's not a translation memory. It needs proofreading, and there are projects in bigger companies. We have had this experience, and we're doing this when they come not for translation, but only ask us to clean the translation memory. So we are not proofreading some documents or some materials, but we are proofreading the translation memory, some XML with tons of text, and because it helps them to use LLMs to translate in a proper way. But they need our human translators to confirm that the translation memory is clean, crystal clear, absolutely in a good condition. And it's a precious thing, like a gem for you. So maintaining your health and translation memory when you are young is the best way to live longer. I would
Yeah,
say.
that makes sense. You know, it really sounds like you guys are doing a lot of testing and evaluating of AI models. And so let's talk a little bit about what you can do to fine-tune an AI model for a particular industry, and in particular, what you can do to prevent overfitting or introducing bias. Do you have any advice there?
Let's go
Yes.
ahead.
Well, just a couple of words. I can't boast that we have trained like hundreds of LLMs. No, that's not the experience. It requires first of all, it requires data, which you cannot fine tune anything if you have like a couple of pages of text. No, you need the big data and the client who would want it, who would want to pay for it, and who would allow to that we send their materials to somewhere, some experiments. We do have experiments on fine tuning. We started with just Llama because it's very easy to do this. We made some experience with Gemini, just uploading some. You can just upload some files. What our experience, what our current experience. So it's not even expensive. You can just do it, just fine tune. But in our experience, it doesn't lead just to significant change in quality. So the general model, properly prompt with RAG, with glossaries and translation memories, with style guide, would translate the same way as the fine-tuned model. You need lots of data to really fine-tune it. And speaking about overfitting, in translation, it's a good thing. For generative model, overfitting in translation is a good thing because when you overfit, it guarantees that it translates as the translation memory does. It becomes a translation memory. But this overfitting just can damage the. If you fine tune it wrong, then you can spoil the model, and this is a very common thing. There were lots of experience when we fine tune something, and it started to just translate some garbage. We are doing this. We're developing now. Our current pilot project is we partnered with some guys that are working in Google. They are just machine learning experts, and together what we do is we are fine tuning Mistral for a game developer to see how it all works. If it just and we'll be publishing this case study. It will be open, and this will give the answer that what if we take Mistral and we just run 10 metrics without just on the base model, and then there will be fine tuning, and then we'll run the same tests on the fine tuned model, and we'll compare, and we'll just publish this as some case study, some PDF. That will be very nice experience, nice experiment. This will be showing something. Yeah, so this is where we are. This is where we are. Probably some guys are much more further than us in this question, but for us, just generic AI models just do as good as needed. So we don't allocate much resources for this task of fine tuning.
That is it. Did you have anything to add to that?
No, Alex pretty comprehensively covered this topic.
Okay, good. So how can businesses assess whether an AI model is truly domain optimized or just repackaged general AI? Do you think there's a way that people can assess that?
Well, all domain up models are repackaged versions of Llama, GPT, MT5, or Laser. And the only way to know is to ask direct questions, push for details. What data was used, how it was fine-tuned, and whether domain-specific corpora were included. Vague answers like proprietary data, I would consider as red flags. And
Yeah.
the most powerful test or the most powerful check is to test on your own content. I would not trust claims. Just run side-by-side comparison with your own data and in your specific scenario. If the main adapted model performs equally or worse than general purpose model like GPT, I would say it's likely just a rebrand.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. I wanted to add this kind of note. I think is important. When we talk to client and we are going to implement the MTP workflow with LLMs or whatever machine translation, this becomes the part of our contract. The model we use, we absolutely 100% are clear here because this is the part of the contract. We don't guarantee the 100% quality, of course. And if not, we must explain why not 100%. And here we go with details. We agree on the model. We agree on the prompt, on the workflow, with how it works, so that the client understands 100% understand what happens under the hood, so that their expectations would be like relevant, adequate. We agree on everything about the metrics, how we measure the quality. We give some threshold. We select some technical metrics, some human metrics. We agree on everything with the client because it just managing expectations. And then if the client gets some weird text in Indonesian and they get one star on App Store, then they understand why it happened, and they would not blame anyone, but maybe OpenAI, maybe. We agree on all the terms. This is how MTP is done. It's a trade-off.
And quality.
You don't. Yes, you pay less, but you get less.
And quality.
The best thing you want.
Yeah, and quality, of course, is more than just accuracy. We've been talking about accuracy, but that's not the only measure of success in localization. Wouldn't you agree?
Of course not.
Quality versus accuracy. I would say that I'm for quality. Sometimes accuracy is important when it's about some legal or some super technical biology, some things. Then maybe, but we cannot compare the quality and the accuracy. But intuitively, I understand it as, especially with LLMs, which are generators, they are transcreating things. They understand a kind of what we want from them, and they just generate. They just don't translate. They generate something, and sometimes they generate what isn't present in the source text. And if we ask the professional linguist to judge on the quality, the professional linguist would say, well, in the target, there is no such, there is more information than in the source. Then it's a mistake because it's a mistranslation. There is no this information in the source, and you translate it and you just make some, but somehow LLM can overthink and understand that the person who wrote the source, they meant something bigger, and the LLMs would translate that bigger, and that sometimes it's acceptable, some it's not. It's a term. It's how we agree. We can instruct the professional translator to judge very strictly whether it's a mistake or not. Whether it's mistranslation or over-translation, I don't know the term. Maybe I would say that sometimes LLMs would translate beautifully, provided with very poor source. Your source might have some type some mistakes, some wrong wording, some everything, but your translation will be beautiful because of LLMs. They just do this beautifully.
Right.
And when you run the metrics, it will be failure because, well, source and target they doesn't correspond much to themselves, and automatic metrics would say this is 35% of quality, but it's actually 90% because it became better. So it's how you measure. It's how you measure.
It's almost like
So
it's almost like we should be implementing some alternative or quality metrics in AI-driven translation.
Of course, I would even recommend to go with kind of multifaceted approach to quality assessment, not just relying on single metric or even bunch of metrics. For example, at Alconost, we develop our own quality index. We call it AQI, which combines multiple automated metrics like Blue, Comet, Bear Score, and several metrics more. And the most important human evaluation. So we're not just relying on machine scores. This blended approach gives us more objective and well-rounded view of translation quality. Also, sometimes we can use even LLMs for machine translation evaluation, but this tool is currently in development.
Yeah, that's another very my favorite experiment when we asked LLM to judge on the quality of some translation and give the list of errors that they found, and it's pretty much working. We'll again publish very soon that tool for the public. You will be able to assess any file to see the quality judged by different LLMs. How DeepSeek thinks about your Chinese translation, nobody knows. There is no such report, and we'll on it now. You'll be able to just assess quality by just choosing some engines. That's a very interesting development now happening.
Yeah. You're not going to believe it, but we've already been talking almost an hour. That's how quickly it goes. And
Oh, really?
we
Wow.
could, yeah, we could probably go for a couple of hours. We should have scheduled a couple of hours for this. We could do a Joe Rogan episode on LLMs. But let's wrap it up and talk a little bit about the future of AI and localization. What do you think is next in AI and localization?
Well, I forgot my crystal ball, but what I expect is kind of regional fragmentation. I mean, dedicated models for specific regions to capture local nuances and linguistic specifics. Also, I expect LLMs will be specialized by purpose. For example, LLM tailored to marketing details, not details, marketing stuff, some technical LLMs, or maybe LLMs created for games. Such LLMs already exist, but they will be wider developed. Also, I expect different service models, varying different service models based on human involvement, not just MTP. I think we will see some more flexible stuff, like we're already providing service fit for purpose. The client defines the quality they want to have and the resources they have, and we help them to tailor their expectations with the reality.
Yeah. Alex, anything to add to that?
Regarding the translators, translators always want to know what's in the future, what happens to their profession. That's a very important question. We're all linguists, I'm also a mathematician, but anyway, studying languages. So what happens to the role of the translator? Many years ago, they were typing texts. Then they started to select between suggestions of different machine translation in the platform. They would just select the some suggestion and then edit it, and that's okay. And now with LLMs, they have more suggestions from different LLMs, and they have their choice. And if we talk about these new workflows, AI-based workflows, then the role of the translator would shift to a reviewer most. And we are just negotiating with our translators different terms, different type of job, and some of them still refuse. I'm a translator, they say, not reviewer. I don't want to just contribute to this LLM. What is happening? I would. But then in half a year, they change their mind. This happens. It also depends on the quality. If you ask them to proofread some garbage, then they would refuse. But if it's just reading and just fixing several terms in a page, then it's okay. And this is why the translation costs not 90% less with LLMs than it costed before. It's only like 35%. Sometimes it's 50, but it's not 90%.
Yeah.
We are pretty much sure that where they were typing, that's irrelevant. But now they're reading, and to read, you can type one page in some minutes, but you can read only 3 pages during the same time. So it's not like 200% efficient. No.
Yeah.
It's a discount. You are the biggest LLM as a human. The bigger LLM, you have many other contexts other than texts, and you read through this, and you have this throughput. It's limited. You have eyes, you have your throughput, and you just read and you just understand, comprehend what's happening, and you just tick. Okay, not okay. Okay. Issue. Okay. Issue. Question. This is the work of the modern translator. Rather checking the relevance of the translation, not just typing. Typing is kind of stupid. You can be dictating, not typing. Why typing? It's not efficient. Now it's reviewing. This is the major shift in the translates role. And the another role that is skyrocketing here is translations, language operations. Those kind of people just came into the industry. This is a new term, and the project managers, I would see their future not customer-facing people and not translator-facing people organizing everything. They're project managers, but they would be all kind of engineers. So in Alconost, we're just launching very soon the program when all our localization managers, they would learn Python, who is not yet. They will all be able to open Cursor and to type some script to convert some XML to OpenAI, just do something. I don't know. It's like English language. We all learn in English language to be functional. Programming is another English, I would say.
I think
the world is changing. AI is changing.
We're definitely in an environment nowadays where continuous education is going to be a theme that we're going to have to accept in order to survive in the business world going forward. Alex and Denis, thank you so very much for giving us so much information about AI and localization in the last hour. I really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And we should do it again one of these days. It seems like we still have lots of topics to talk about. Thank you so very much for
Thanks for having
joining us today.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you very much. Thank you.